In the beautiful city of Asaba, there lived a man named Ovie, a well-known businessman respected in his community for his honesty and generosity. Handsome, composed, and hardworking, Ovie carried himself with an air of dignity that matched his success. His reputation for integrity and kindness made him beloved among those who knew him. Ovie married his secondary school sweetheart, Onajite. They had known each other since their school days, and through the years, their love only grew stronger even though they hadn't yet achieved all their dreams. They believed in each other deeply. They faced life challenges with unwavering faith in their bond, sticking together no matter what came their way. Onajite, a talented fashion designer, was well known for her brand and exquisite designs. Her dedication to her craft, loyalty to her customers, and commitment to giving them the best made her a respected name in the fashion world. Her brand grew, reaching clients both nationally and internationally, and she became one of the city's most successful designers, with a team of workers supporting her growing business. 2 years after their marriage, Ovie and Onajite were blessed with twins, Tega and Emu. After the birth of their children, life took a different turn. Before, Ovie and Onajite had always been deeply attentive to each other, making time for each other no matter how busy they were. Their relationship was filled with care, love, and mutual support. However, after Tega and Emu were born, Onajite shifted her focus almost entirely to their children. She poured all her attention into taking care of them, feeling it was her duty as a mother to be fully present for their needs. In her mind, this was what her family needed. However, this change caused tension in their marriage. Ovie felt neglected, longing for the closeness they once shared. But Onajite didn't see anything wrong with devoting her time entirely to the children. Their differing perspective led to constant arguments. Ovie suggested they hire a house help to ease the burden, but Jite refused. She didn't trust the idea of a housekeeper around such young children, especially with all the stories she had heard about housekeepers. She insisted, "We have been together for years, babe. Now it's time for the children. Let me do this. I just need your support." To Ovie, it felt as though his wife no longer cared for him the way she used to. He understood her dedication to the children, but felt she should still make time for him as well. Jite, however, saw her role as a mother as her top priority, even reducing her work schedules to focus entirely on their children. Ovie began keeping late nights, often returning home long after dark. Each time he came back, Jite barely noticed, her focus still entirely on the children. She paid little attention to his late returns, absorbed in her role as a mother. This routine became a norm in their household, and over time they unknowingly drifted apart. Ovie confided in his longtime friend and manager, Kunle, who had been a major support in his career. Kunle listened patiently as Ovie shared the struggles he was facing at home. He advised Ovie to be patient and supportive of Jite, reassuring him that motherhood was challenging but temporary. "Support her, my friend," Kunle encouraged. "It won't last forever. Just give her time." To help Ovie unwind, Kunle invited him to the annual business meeting for companies across the city. Though Ovie initially refused, saying he wasn't in the mood, Kunle insisted, knowing that the event would help lift his spirits. They attended the meeting together, and there Ovie ran into Dapo, an old associate he hadn't seen in years. They exchanged warm greetings. Dapo introduced Ovie to his business partner, Aderonke, whom he called Rookie. He praised her highly, sharing how her intelligence and strategic skills had transformed his business, propelling it to impressive new heights. Ovie was captivated by Adoronke's sharp mind and the poise with which she spoke. She embodied both beauty and intellect, a combination that left a lasting impression on him. Following the meeting, Dakpo and Ovie decided to revive an old project they had always wanted to pursue. They agreed to split the profits 50-50, with Kunle representing Ovie's company and Ruki representing Dakpo's. Most of their business meeting took place at Ovie's office, as it was larger and better equipped than Dakpo's. One day, as Ruki arrived at Ovie's office to deliver a project report, she overheard him on the phone, venting his frustrations about his home life. His voice carried a deep weariness as he complained about the struggles with Jite and how exhausted he was by the constant conflict. As he poured out his frustrations, Ruki, standing just outside the door, gave a mischievous smile. "You are a goner," she murmured to herself before gently closing the door, careful not to let Ovie see her. The next day, Ovie met with Kunle and Ruki in the meeting room, asking why they hadn't briefed him on the project's progress. As he entered, he noticed something unusual. Ruki was dressed in a manner that was unexpectedly revealing for the office. She wore a tight blouse and a short skirt that caught him off guard. Although it wasn't her typical style, Ovie brushed it off, focusing on the project update instead. However, in the following days, Ruki continued to wear increasingly revealing outfits to the office, and Ovie began feeling uncomfortable. Eventually, he asked her about the change in her dressing style, and she simply replied, "This is just how I feel like dressing now. I can change my style with the seasons." Since Ruki didn't technically work for his company, she only came in occasionally to work on the project with Kunle. Ovie decided to overlook it. But soon, her behavior became bolder. She started visiting his office without taking permission from Kunle as she used to. Ruki began dropping things intentionally, bending over to pick them up in a way that drew attention. Ovie tried to ignore these actions, holding himself back and focusing on his work. One day, after an intense argument with Onajite that left him fuming, Ovie returned to his office, hoping for a moment of peace. As he opened the door, he was met with a sight that took his breath away. Ruki was sitting on his chair, dressed in a short skirt and crop top, her gaze inviting and her posture undeniably seductive. In that moment, overwhelmed by his emotions and weakened resolve, Ovie gave in, and they shared an intimate moment in his office. Afterwards, guilt washed over him, but Ruki was quick to reassure him. She convinced him that there was nothing wrong with it, reminding him that his own wife had neglected him. "You deserve this, Ovie," she said, using her charm to ease his conscience. Soon, he found himself drawn to her more and more, and their affair continued in secret. They started meeting at hotels, and eventually, Ruki convinced him to buy a house in another state, a place where they could meet privately during weekends or whenever they want to meet each other. What started as a single lapse became a pattern. Ruki ensured that no one in the office suspected a thing. Their relationship remained strictly professional in public and in the office. Everything appeared normal. However, after about a year of their secret affair, Ovie began experiencing strange recurring dreams. Every night he found himself in a haunting world where he was bound with chains around his neck, being dragged by an unknown woman. In this dream world, women held all the power, and Ovie was nothing more than a slave to this woman, whose face he could never quite see. He had children with her in this strange world, but he was treated as a servant rather than a father or a partner. The contrast between his dream life and his real life, where he was successful with a family and wealth, was uncertain. In these dreams, the woman would pull him along, tightening the chains around his neck, commanding him harshly. Sometimes, if he resisted, she or her other servants would whip him, forcing him into submission. Each time he woke up, he felt drained, with an ache throughout his body, as if he had actually endured the beatings. Exhaustion became his new normal, his energy sapped by these nightly ordeals. Whenever he mentioned the dreams to Ruki, she brushed them off as just bad dreams, not giving them much attention. Ovie felt increasingly isolated, unable to tell his wife or confide in Kunle or anyone else. He kept these experiences to himself, enduring them silently, unsure of what to make of this mysterious and tormenting nightmare that haunted him every night. Ovie, feeling disturbed by his constant nightmares, decided to reflect deeply on where it all began. He traced it back to shortly after he met Ruki. Though he couldn't draw any specific conclusions, he resolved to spend less time with her and focus more on his family, hoping it might bring him some peace. He dedicated himself to being present at home, helping Onajite with the children and spending quality time with them. Onajite was pleasantly surprised but grateful, thinking Ovie finally understood her need to focus on their kids. Meanwhile, Ruki sensed that Ovie was avoiding her and became increasingly agitated. That night, Ovie had another disturbing dream, but this time he saw the face of the woman who had been chaining and dragging him around. To his shock, it was Ruki, her face twisted in anger, her voice low and furious as she spoke to him. "Now you want to avoid me. Where do you think you're going?" she hissed, her voice echoing with a menacing tone. "So now you remember you have a wife. You think you can just leave me? You are mine. We have children together. You are not going anywhere." As she spoke, her form began to shift, her body elongated, transforming into a massive, terrifying snake. She lunged at him, her eyes gleaming with fury, and in one swift moment, she wrapped around him, sinking her fangs into his neck and tearing his head off. Ovie jolted awake, drenched in sweat, sitting up in bed, terrified and disoriented. The image of her face haunted him, leaving him unable to shake the fear. In the days that followed, Ovie found himself uneasy around Ruki. Though she acted professionally at the office, the sight of her filled him with dread. There was an unshakable fear in his eyes whenever she was near, a feeling of wanting to hide, to run, yet being unable to escape. He grew withdrawn and didn't seem like himself anymore, leaving his wife increasingly worried. She could sense something was wrong, but Ovie was too terrified and confused to explain what he had been experiencing. Whenever he tried to speak about it, his mind became jumbled and he couldn't articulate his thoughts. Meanwhile, Ruki sensed his attempts to tell others and began targeting anyone who tried to get close to him. She even reached into the dreams of his family, bringing strange illnesses and misfortunes upon them. Soon their son Tega became very sick. Despite numerous hospital tests, doctor couldn't diagnose the cause. Desperate, Onajite turned to herbal remedies, but 2 days after Tega received the medicine, he passed away without explanation, leaving the family shattered. Ovie was overcome with guilt and grief, aware that his actions had endangered his family, but feeling powerless to do anything about it. Every time he tried to write down or communicate what he had been through, something would interfere. Pens would stop working, his thoughts would cloud, he cannot remember anything, and he would feel as though his voice was stiff. Ruki seemed to know his every move, tearing apart any plan he had to reveal the truth, leaving him isolated in his suffering. Now, with his business collapsing, his son gone, and his wife lost in confusion and despair, Ovie was trapped in a nightmare with no escape. The weight of his actions pressed on him as he sat in silence, thinking over and over, "What have I done?" Onajite, devastated by the loss of her son, went into depression. She had dedicated her life to caring for him, and his sudden passing left her in a state of shock. She no longer paid attention to herself or her daughter Emu, who began to fall ill as well, a consequence of Ruki's dark influence. Consumed by grief, Onajite struggled to find purpose. She was so lost in her sorrow that she was unaware of the turmoil surrounding her husband's business, which was rapidly deteriorating. Eventually, Ovie's company had to shut down as he could no longer manage it. Ovie, meanwhile, was a shadow of his former self. His business collapsed, his body weakened, and he felt trapped in silence. Unable to share the nightmare he was living in, his attempts to escape the hold Ruki had on him failed. She had taken everything from him, his strength, his wealth, and ultimately his will to live. Ovie's life became one of the unbearable misery, and without a way to express his pain, he took his own life, leaving Onajite and their daughter behind. With Ovie gone, Onajite, who had already lost so much, sank further into depression. Her daughter's illness claimed Emu's life soon after, adding another layer of grief to her heart. By then, she was so broken that she couldn't even process her husband's death. She wandered through her days like a ghost, her business running solely because her loyal employees kept things afloat. One day, an old friend and business associate of Onajite visited her, disturbed by the news of Ovie's death and worried about the state Onajite might be in. She found Onajite. She was shocked at the lifeless, hollow shell her friend had become, determined to help, caring for her and encouraging her to pray and seek strength. This friend was deeply spiritual and prayed tirelessly for Onajite, urging her to let go of the darkness and lean on faith. Slowly, with her friend's support and through prayers, Onajite began to regain her senses. She wept for the tragedy that had torn her family apart, even though she still couldn't fully understand what had happened. As time passed, she channeled her grief into her work, pouring her energy into her fashion brand, letting it become her new purpose. She found solace in rebuilding her life, though love and family were no longer dreams she held onto. Instead, she focused on her career, strengthened by the resilience she had gained from her journey through unimaginable loss. Hi lovelies, what do you think? Was it Ovie's fault for letting himself fall into Ruki's trap? Or could things have been different if Onajite had shown him more attention? And if Ovie had been more patient and supportive of his wife, would he have been spared from this dark fate? Tell me what you think in the comments section. And remember, stick to your partner no matter what. There are spirits out there looking for ways to bring problems and destroy marriages, so be prayerful and mindful. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Until I come your way with more interesting videos. Bye bye.